You are welcome to this live chat, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adibare Egunjobi, and I'm going to be your lead facilitator throughout this month for this CPD series. It is CPD, and I'm going to quickly talk about that before we launch into today's program. CPD is Continuous Professional Development, and this CPD has been organized specially for the teachers of all the schools that we have been working with over years. So if you are a courtesy of your school owner or school administrator. And we're going to be together, like I've said, throughout this month for this CPD. It's continuous, just like the name implies. It's a continuous thing. It's what we're going to be doing every month by the special grace of God. It is professional development. The whole essence is for us to build and boost capacities as teachers. And what do we want to achieve with this CPD? It is to make us to be aware and be exposed to and be equipped with the latest trends in teaching, the emerging trends in teaching, the evolving trends in teaching, the contemporary trends in teaching, the current trends in teaching, and the future trends in teaching. All these trends are very, very important so that we are not left out. I'm aware the majority of us in this chat group, we studied education in school. Many of us, we had our postgraduate diploma. Many of us have our certificates in education or education administration or related courses. But you see, this is a time when knowledge has been democratized and things are evolving at an alarming rate. So if you depend on the college knowledge, college certificate alone, you may just be lost out of the current trends in educational landscape. That's the essence of this professional development. Today we are starting with what we call it "What Every Teacher Must Know" series, and that is what we're going to be doing on this platform. What every teacher must know. I want to assure you it's going to be a very, very interesting time. It's going to be very, very eye-opening, and it is going to be career boosting, and it is going to also be life-changing and transforming as well, because we're going to be getting to know what we should know, what we should master as teachers in 21st century. So let us start today as we consider the preliminary of this series, What Every Teacher Must Know series in our ongoing continuous professional development program. Again, my name is Adibare Egunjobi. Fasten your seatbelt and let us embark on this journey. We are going to be talking about competence in teaching. Competence in teaching. What every teacher must know about attaining competence in teaching. And don't forget, for every session that we have on this platform, there is going to be test and examination. The evaluation question shall be sent to your school administrator, and they are going to be administering the questions to you. It is those who beat the cutoff points that will be eligible to apply for certificate for this CPD. So I will advise that you pay maximum attention, get your earpiece on or AirPod on if possible to prevent distractions and to aid clarity and get your writing materials. What every teacher must know series. Today we are beginning with what every teacher must know about attaining competence in teaching profession. That is the competent teacher, and that is where we are starting from. How do you know a competent teacher? A competent teacher is known by three major characteristics. A competent teacher must have knowledge of subject matter. A competent teacher must have knowledge of delivery methods, and a competent teacher must have knowledge of the learners. These are the three major characteristics of a competent teacher. It's just like when you are talking of characteristics of living things. You remember your Mr. Niger D. You say that a living thing must be able to move, must be able to reproduce, must be able to respire, must be able to feed, must be able to respond to stimulus, must be able to grow, must be able to excrete, must be able to I must be able to adapt, I must be able to compete as well. So if an entity is able to carry out these characteristics, you say it's a living thing. If an entity is not able to carry out these characteristics, you say it's a non-living thing. It's the same thing when it comes to competence in teaching. If a teacher has these three characteristics, you say it's competent. If a teacher lacks one, two, or three of these characteristics, you say that the teacher is incompetent. So I go over those characteristics again. Number one, knowledge of the subject matter is the same thing we refer to as what to teach. Then we have number two, knowledge of delivery methods is the same thing we refer to as how to teach. And number three, we have knowledge of the learners is the same thing we refer to as who to teach. That means basically a competent teacher should be able to answer three basic questions: what to teach, how to teach, and who to teach. The mastery of these three layers of knowledge determines how competent a teacher is. Now you ask me, how about all the courses that we study in colleges of education and faculties of education? Out of all the courses we study in teacher education, what of over 40 something courses we study under complete teacher training and certification program CTTC? That you are very right. But may I tell you, all the courses we study under teacher education, they all fall under these three broad categories, as you are going to see in the course of this program. So when we say a teacher is a competent teacher, it begins from that number one, knowledge of subject matter. A teacher must know what to teach. That's the beginning, that's the genesis, that's the cradle. You don't know what to teach. Why are you in the classroom? You see, when you go to a barber, you go to a barber because you believe that the barber knows what it takes to barb. So when you enter into a classroom, number one thing is we want to believe that the teacher must know what to teach. And a strange occurrence happened some years ago. We went for supervision assessment of teachers. By the grace of God, we have supervised over 500 schools in Nigeria. We have seen the good, we have seen the bad, we have seen the ugly when it comes to teachers assessment and school inspection programs. So we entered into that school, and it was one of the schools in the suburb. The teacher was handling one of the classes, maybe primary two or primary three, and he said a child whose parents have died is called an organ. When we heard that, we felt it could be slip of tongue. Nobody's above mistake, and no one is a monopoly of knowledge. Anyone could make, mistake of slip of the tongue. She continued, and she said a child whose parents have died is called an organ. Now, repeating the second time made me to become worried, or made the team to become worried rather. So one of the students raised up his hand and said, Auntie, you meant to say orphan because that is too obvious. And the auntie, strange enough, you won't believe that this really happened. That's why I say we have seen the good, we have seen the bad, and we have seen the ugly. Supervising over 500 schools, you can imagine the number of teachers who have supervised in the process. So she went to check her note, her lesson note, and her content, and she came back and still wrote organ on the board because that was what was in her lesson notes. At that moment, we couldn't stomach it any longer. We had to excuse her, take her out of the classroom, and express our bewilderment. It was, like I said, very strange, unbelievable. So that means it is possible for a teacher not to know what to teach. So if it can happen to that basic issue, you can now imagine when a teacher does not know what to teach under isomerism, and he wants to teach that in chemistry, or a teacher does not master the concept of power and sovereignty very well in government, or a teacher does not master elasticity of demand in economics, or a teacher does not even master what to teach under literary genres in literature in English. So it becomes a disaster. That is why we said competence begins with knowing what to teach. Ability to enter into the classroom without opening book, The first 5 minutes, you can introduce the lesson without consulting any material and connect with the students. It's all mark of teaching. So when we're talking about what every teacher must know, uh, we're talking about what every teacher must know about attaining competence in teaching. It begins from knowing what to teach. And if a teacher knows what to teach, he can now proceed to how to teach. Of course, how to teach is where creativity comes in. How to teach is where resourcefulness comes in. How to teach is where initiatives come in. How to teach is where professionalism comes in. But you cannot attain all of this if what to teach is deficient. Now, when you go to a barber, like I was saying the other time, you go to a barber because you believe that the barber knows how to barb. When you, board a vehicle, you go with this conviction and assurance that the driver knows how to drive. When you board a plane and you have this confidence that even as the plane is in the air, you still take a nap or even a deep sleep because you believe and have the confidence that the pilot knows how to fly an aeroplane and land it safely. So a teacher should know how to teach. Knowing what to teach is not enough. A teacher must know how to teach. So when we talk about how to teach, it is the major professional demand of a teacher that brings the connection between him and the students. A teacher may actually score A1 in mathematics and may not be the best mathematics teacher because it is one thing to know what in mathematics, it's another thing to know how. And I have seen some teachers who had C4 in mathematics. They did not even have A1, they did not have B2, they did not have B3, they have C4. And they become better teachers than those who have A1. Why? Because they know how to impart the knowledge. And many of these C4 holders are producing students that are having A1 in mathematics, whereas the teacher who has A1 in mathematics cannot produce students that could even have C5. So that tells you that knowing what to teach, as good as it is not enough. A teacher should be able to proceed to knowing how to teach. So you will now think that that should be the finality of competence in teaching, but that is not. If you know how to teach, you are still not yet a competent teacher until you know who to teach. Now, who to teach to me is the most technical aspect of teaching. If I want to teach, if I come to class and I want to teach economics, for instance, so economics is a branch of social science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which are alternative uses. I know what to teach. I could do that offhand without even consulting any book because I know what to teach. And I tell the students underline wants, underline scarce means, underline alternative uses because we're going to use these keywords to teach concepts of economics. Fantastic. So I know what to teach. But having done that, the next thing is to show that I'm really competent is how do I want to do that? So I come to class and I tell the students, good afternoon, students. I want to share a story with you. And that story has to do with the time I went to market. I had 5,000 naira on me. I wanted to buy a pair of shoe and I also wanted to buy belt. And I badly needed it too because without belt, my trousers will fall off. And of course, people might see my nakedness or underwears. And without a pair of shoes, I may step on broken bottles. My feet can become lacerated and that will bring wounds and injury. So what do you think I can do, students? And the student reply me, this one, some will say shoes, some will say belt. Now I go to the market and the seller told me then, it was then, the seller told me a pair of shoe goes for 5,000 naira. Belt also goes for 5,000 naira. And I'm having 5,000 naira on me. That simply means I have to buy one and forgo the other. So which one am I going to get? So I decided to go for a pair of shoe. and then I forwent belt. Of course, when I got home, I tried to get a strong banana rope, use it to tie my trousers, and decided to fly my shirt so that people will know I was using banana rope. It is okay. My trousers did not fall off. That's what was important. And then I bought a pair of shoes. The cost of the belt, that's the alternative for gun. The belt is the alternative for gun now. The cost of belt, which is the cost of alternative for gun, is opportunity cost. That's what we want to teach today. So that is demonstration of how to teach. Combining these two makes a great teacher, but you are not yet a competent teacher yet. To be a competent teacher, you must know who to teach. How do I know that? There are about 30 students in my classroom. And these 30 students have different temperaments. They have different dispositions to learning. They have different abilities and disabilities physically. They also have different abilities and disabilities academically. They have different parental backgrounds, different family backgrounds, different tribal differences. They have different psychological and different emotional makeup. There is one of them called Olu that when I say sit down very well, that is what will make Olu to sit down very well and behave. There is another one called Henry. If I say sit down very well, that will make him to become so frightened, and for the next 5 minutes, he may not be able to find his rhythm or his bearing. And they are all in my classroom. So that means if I shout at everyone and say, sit down very well, everybody, it will work for 2, 3, 4 people. It may not work for 12, 15 people. And I have to teach all of them and ensure that all of them understand. So you discover that it is the most technical aspect of teaching, and many teachers fail woefully in this area. This is what I mean. If you enter into a classroom and you want to teach, there are some students that are naturally visual learners. So when you show them what they need to see, they learn. So I come to class and I'm teaching photosynthesis. I'm teaching flowers and I bring out a flower. No, 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 no. Excuse me. I did not bring any flower. I talked about flower. I talk about stigma. I talk about filament. I talk about petals. I talk about sepals. I talk about parts of a flower. I talk about uses of a flower. I talk about definitions of flower and pollination of flower. When I do that, the auditory learners learn very well, but the remaining categories of learners are not getting anything. If I don't have knowledge of the learners, I would think I've done a fantastic job, whereas I've just been able to teach only 20% of the class. But when I bring out the flower, oh, the visual learners came alive, because when visual learners see the object of teaching, they become alive. Their brain is connected. And then they begin, oh, so this is what Uncle has been talking about. And then I can show them. So I have taken care of visual learners. But about tactile learners, they are disenfranchised from the class. They are disconnected because tactile learners will not learn until they touch. So when I now say, okay, everyone, touch the flower, touch the flower, touch the flower. This is the sepal, this is the petal. That is when tactile learners begin to learn. Tactile learners only learn when they use their hands to touch. But then I thought I've done a fantastic job, but there are still about 15 members of the class that have not got anything. You know why? I have not catered for their needs. So we have the kinesthetic learners, and their own brain is connected to their legs. They need to run around the classroom. They need to walk around before they can learn. So by the time I now call Bolu, come around, because Bolu is a kinesthetic learner who loves to be walking around. Take the flower, take it around the entire class. That is when Bolu begins to learn. And that is when the needs of kinesthetic learner is being taken care of. Now I've taken care of auditory learners, I've taken care of visual learners, I've taken care of tactile learners, I've taken care of kinesthetic learners. But then I've not taken care of verbal learners. Verbal learners will learn when they are talking and talking and talking and talking. And I'll say, okay, yes, Rosemary, tell us what you have picked from this. Yes, Mohammed, tell us what you have picked from this. When I do that, I bring in verbal learners, but I might not have taken care of analytical learners. I might not have taken care of global learners, and so on and so forth. And we have at least 15 categories of learner under this aspect. How about, how do I expect a 2-year-old to behave when vis-a-vis teaching learning process? How do I expect a 13-year-old to behave vis-a-vis teaching learning process? There is an age that a child will get to that the child will want to still meet from the pot. No matter how religious the parents may be, it is not religious, it is not simple, it is purely emotional, psychological, and biological. There is a particular age every child will get to that want to relate with opposite sex. There is nothing you can do about it. Even if he does not want to, the body will demand for it. It is biological. Many of us don't have this knowledge. So that's the second aspect. There's the aspect of the character and behavioral patterns. A child who tells lie, how do you handle him? A child who steals, how do you handle him? A child who is aggressive, how do you break the aggression? And you don't break aggression with aggression, otherwise you multiply aggression. You see, how if a child is telling lie, for instance, how do you handle such a child? You handle the child by first admitting the fact that he's intelligent. It takes intelligence to tell lie without being caught. So most children who are good liars without being caught easily, they have very high intelligence quotient, and you can go and find that out. So what happens if you are able to, if you know how to help them and channel that what is supposed to be a destructive habit into a positive use, they end up becoming fantastic writers, fiction writers, authors, or even good lawyers because they can make use of their imagination. It takes a lot of imagination to be a good liar, which intelligent people have in huge dosage. That's how you're able to get people like Wale Soyinka. You're able to get people like Chinamanda. You're able to get people like Chino Achebe, Olarutin, Florain Wapapuche Mecheta, and Mohamed Sule, and Ingo Giwatung, and the rest of them. So this is what we need to know. How about knowing their temperaments? So many teachers fail in this area. Do they know what to teach? They know what to teach. When they come to class, they tell you longitude and latitude. They know everything about longitude and latitude. They will talk about the parallels of latitude. They will talk about the longitude. They will talk about the great circles that have the radius as big R. And they will talk about the small circles that have the radius as small r. But that is where it ends. They hardly have the right methodology. They could even try. But when it now comes to catering for the needs of all the children within 40 minutes, that takes a whole lot of professionalism and technicality. So what have we observed in Nigerian teachers and African teachers? This is what we've observed. After almost 2 decades of interacting with this sector, our discovery is this: many teachers know what to teach. Some teachers know how to teach. Only few teachers know who to teach. Come again. Many teachers know what to teach, plenty. Only few teachers, some teachers know how to teach. Why only few teachers know who to teach? Now, what happens if I know what to teach and I can manage to do how to teach? My only problem is just that I don't know who to teach. What's the implication? The implication is you are going to be teachers of brilliant students only. The brilliant student will continue to be brilliant, and the dull student will continue to be dull because you will lack the capacity to transform a dull student to becoming a brilliant student. That requires knowledge of the learners, knowledge of child psychology, knowledge of the temperament, knowledge of the behavioral pattern, knowledge of the age patterns, knowledge of the academic abilities and disabilities, and then knowledge of the learning styles of the child. These are the three major components that make a competent teacher. Like I said, we are using this to open the floor for our CPD. So when I come next time, we're going to start with what to teach. I have just summarized. So we will look at what to teach in a much more detailed format. And when we are done with that, we will now go into how to teach. And when we get to how to teach, we'll be considering 21st century teaching methodologies. And we are going to look at what exactly we need to do to master mastery of teaching. And when we are done with that, maybe we can now proceed to who to teach. We have so much to discuss. And don't forget, this month we are discussing supervision and assessment of teachers, how to respond to supervision, how to respond to assessment in such a way that you will pass excellently any supervision assessment that is brought to your school. But I don't want to rush into that. I want to lay this foundation. So in our next class, I'm going to be expanding on what to teach. And then the subsequent ones, I'm going to be expanding on how to teach. Then we now go into our focus for this month. We have so much to discuss, so much to discuss. Don't forget, the program is Continuous Professional Development Program, CPD. And don't forget, the series we're considering is What Every Teacher Must Know series. And my name is Adibare Gunjobi. I'm going to be with you throughout this month as we embark on this very interesting journey. When I come back, when we get to the teaching methodologies, we're going to be looking at your classroom teaching. And I will tell you 20 things that you are supposed to know when you are teaching in the classroom within 40 minutes. I'm also going to be letting you see the basic records that supervisor and assessor will be looking out for. And I'm also going to let you see at least 20 attributes that supervisor and assessors will be looking out for. At the end of this month's session, you will be able to master how to handle classroom teaching by excellence. For some of us, it is going to be a revision. For some of us, it is going to be a refresher course. For some of us, it is going to be a new a vista of learning entirely. But what I can say is no one will remain the same again. There's going to be evaluation questions for today's session. Your school administrator will be giving you the evaluation question at the right time. You are going to solve it and send it back to our WhatsApp platform. Please drop your comments in the comment box now, and further instructions shall be released on our WhatsApp platform for teachers. Once again, my name is Adibare Gunjobi, and it's my pleasure to be with you today. Till I come your way again in our next module, continue to impact lives, continue to be a competent teacher, continue to master what to teach, how to teach, and who to teach. It's bye for now from me. Thank you. God bless you all. Bye.